Well, thank you once again, everyone, for showing up at our discussion. We have a wonderful guest today. And so I want to thank, first of all, Dr. Eva for being here, and Priscilla Martin, who is with St. Mary's Children's Hospital here in Bayside. And I'm really was looking forward to this. This is something that we've been working on for a long time to get to this time that we can do this. And I know the pandemic hasn't helped much. And it's been closed down. The hospital has been closed down. So all those wonderful children have had, unfortunately, not as many guests coming to visit them. And of course, I'm the one that suffers most of that because I just love being there. So,
and we love you.
Thank you. So why don't we just start first of all by giving a little bit of a conversation about, first of all, let's start with yourself, and then bring it over. How long how long ago did you start with St. Mary's?
I'm about to celebrate my 3rd anniversary here at St. Mary's.
Excellent.
And the funny thing that you might remember from the first time that we met is that this is not the first time that I've worked at St. Mary's. I was here back in 1999, left for a few years, and I am back and couldn't be happier because this is definitely my home. I've decided this is where I was supposed to be all along.
Very good, very good. And so you are the head of the volunteer department. It's a very important department because you could really see the value occurring. I personally have seen individuals that have been volunteering. One person I spoke to was 18 years been volunteering there. Just amazing.
And she just came back and was helping us at our front lobby with bringing folks in and screening them before they came in. And so she has now moved from 18 years to 20 years.
There you go. So tell us a little bit about St. Mary's.
Oh, I'd be happy.
Children's Hospital, yes.
Yeah, St. Mary's Hospital for Children is here in Bayside, and we have been around for 150 years. And there are folks that have said to me that we seem to be a very well-kept secret, but that's just by chance because we have been here for so long. We've been in this particular site in Bayside since around 1950. We're a 124-bed long-term care facility for children. And we have children from birth up until their early 20s right now that are with us. And these are all children that have major medical issues that it's hard for the parents to be able to take care of them at home. And they'll come to us at St. Mary's to help them with that care, to train them, hopefully to the point that they're going to be able to take their child home and be able to care for them at home. And for those that it's a little more difficult, those children will stay with us. The parents are here with us during the course of the COVID-19 pandemic. You mentioned that we closed. Our volunteer program closed in March of last year. We're just reopening now. At that same time, we had to close down to visitors, and that included a number of the parents. The parents were given the option of basically moving into St. Mary's. Had to be one of the parents. Couldn't be the whole family, but one of the parents for a good number of our children chose to move in and stayed with their child the whole time. And so that was something that is wonderful that we were able to make that happen, and certainly made a difference for the family dynamic. We worked diligently, all of our different staff members, to make sure that visitations were available, even though it had to be through the glass wall in our lobby where the family living at home would come and stand there and be able to interact by way of iPad so they could hear each other's voices. And they could see each other right there through the windows. But with St. Mary's, we're more than just our long-term care facility. We have a home care program. We have a wonderful medical day health care program where we have young adults as well as children that live at home that come to us for socialization, for different therapies, whether it's physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech language, some continued nursing care. The young adults are anywhere from age 18 up until around 30, maybe just a little bit older. And they come to us for those services during the morning hours, shortly after lunch, and having lunch here with us. They'll head home. And then in the afternoon around 3:30 is when the younger children come in after they've been in school and are now coming to St. Mary's for that same type of activity. By the time they get home, around 6:30 is when they leave us. They will already have their homework done. They will have had their dinner and have had their socialization as well as their different therapies. So that's a wonderful program that we have. And we have a number of other programs. We have an early childhood education program that we have preschoolers that are living at home and come to us for preschool. And so we have specialized staff members there that are working with them and with the children's medical as well as cognitive needs, and making sure that they're getting prepared for being able to go to kindergarten in their homeschool. And that's just the beginning of the tip of the iceberg of what happens at St. Mary's every day.
You know, I was always, when I attended, there were always events happening, and it really felt like a strong initiative between parents and the staff to make that environment so much. You just really felt a lot of joy when you're there, and the kids really responded to it. I found really a joyful experience of simply being around them and doing things that they really enjoyed. In some cases, I'd be running down the hall with them in a wheelchair, and they would just be having all kinds of fun doing that. Or at one point, I remember I brought in a kind of a headset with to listen to this meditation tape that I was listening to, which is really very, very interesting. And I put it on, and they were just so excited. You could see the expressions on their face and how much joy that they were getting from the little things, you know. And that's interesting, because it does affect you to bring the child in you out with them, and it is a joy, and you really feel the difference that it makes to yourself as well as what it does to the kids. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the importance of that, and Dr. Eva could come in and really talk a little bit more thoroughly about this, that relationship that occurs in that between the volunteer and the one that who's receiving the value of that relationship. And I think that's really an important element, because people should know how valuable it actually is. So why don't you take it away,
Sure.
Dr. Eva?
Well, what I like to say is that we're all part of humankind, and it's in our DNA to be kind. We have babies that are born extremely dependent, and they're nonverbal. So we are wired to be able to care for them without them even using words. And so all of that programming is in us. And if we don't have young children, it often feels really good to use that programming somewhere else. And volunteering can be the place to do that, where you step in where there's somebody in need and you have the opportunity to use yourself to help them. And as you said, Lou, you feel better. One of the biggest losses for me during this pandemic is I couldn't work on my nonprofit. We're called the Bold Beauty Project, and we take women with disabilities, pair them with photographers, and we create art shows. And this has created so much joy in my life since I started in 2015, and it's all volunteer, and it's put in countless hours. And when it went away, not just did the people we serve feel sad, but it created this huge void for me.
Cool.
And so during this pandemic, so many people have not been able to connect in ways that are meaningful to both the giver and the receiver. And it's so heartening to hear that you've reopened your doors to volunteers. And so many people have felt isolated during the pandemic. There's really never been a better time to find a safe way to volunteer. And if you can go in person, that's again, our design, we're wired to be in person, it's going to feel so much better. But if your health is fragile or someone in your family's health is fragile, it's understandable that you still want to stay at home. And then you have to look for ways to volunteer online. And I'm sure St. Mary's probably needs some volunteers online as well, because our world has changed so much. And for anybody listening today that hasn't had an opportunity to volunteer, it's something you really have to try, and you have to feel those rewards yourself. As Lou said, you just feel so happy. One benefit of volunteering at St. Mary's is being around children. And we know that, emotions are very powerful and we transmit them to each other. And children by nature tend to be more joyful than adults. They haven't gotten bogged down with all these issues in society. And so if you can find a way to volunteer around children, you're going to be doing yourself a great service, because they're going to help you lift up and help you forget about all the worries that you have. Children are very focused on the present moment, and you can get right in there with them, and it can be a really meaningful and joyful experience for both of you. By going to a place like St. Mary's, there's an obvious need, and people tend to do best in volunteering with a need that resonates with them. So if you or a family member has had health issues, I have a daughter with a disability, so my heart just started pounding when you were talking about these kids and how much you do for the families with all the different therapies, because it's very difficult. When my daughter was young, there was points where she had to have therapy every day of the week, and it was a lot to manage. So to have volunteers there who are cheerful and are there enjoying the process must be so uplifting for everyone. And then the last thing I want to say is, Lou, you talk about how we want to live a satisfying life, and volunteering is such a great way to make our own life more satisfying, because you'll release all these chemicals about connection, serotonin, happiness chemicals, dopamine. When you make somebody happy and they smile, that triggers the smile center of your brain. So volunteering can be such a powerful win-win, and it doesn't have to be something that takes over your whole life. I love the fact you said you've got somebody who's doing it for 20 years, because the best thing is to not burn out. A lot of times people volunteer and they just go in wholeheartedly and they're there all the time. And then what I see is they burn out. They've given it too much energy. They didn't create that balance. The best way to volunteer is where you still feel nurtured by it, so that in the giving you're gaining, and that way you can continue on for 20 years. So some people go once a week, some people go once a month. I know people who go, say, every Christmas and every Thanksgiving. It really doesn't matter. What matters is that you're nurturing that part of you that by design wants to care for other people, that humankind.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we talk about, the value of a contributing mindset, one that's unconditional, one that simply says, I get that I am this person. I know myself. I know my biology. I understand what really makes me tick, and so it's a matter of just simply recognizing the importance for one's own well-being to find places and things to do that contribute to the betterment of the human condition, because that's our purpose. And so understanding that, getting to that first awareness and saying, well, I got it. I got that there's a pandemic out there. I got that there's a mortgage there. I got that there's problems here and problems there and everything else. And what I want to do is I want to become bigger than that, because that's what I'm meant to do, and understand that. And things seem to just fall so much better in place when you are having a joyful experience. And volunteering in any cases it occurs when someone has that contributing mindset, that willingness to make a difference.
Studies have even shown, Lou, that people live longer.
Well,
and
there you
used
go.
an important word there, which is purpose. And these studies have shown that you can actually extend your life by volunteering, but you have to have a sense of purpose. So if you're volunteering and it's making you tired or aggravated, not joyful, then studies show it doesn't extend your life. But if you can go into this office and you get joy and meaning and purpose from it, then that really has been shown to extend your life. So that's why it's important to pick a volunteer that works for you, not to just say, well, I'm going to go to St. Mary's because I saw it on a podcast, or I'm going to go volunteer at a dog shelter because I love dogs. You have to really go into your own heart and say what is going to be meaningful to you. And then you have to try it out, and you have to be willing to say this wasn't the right spot for me. And then you have to be willing to adjust, because what we're looking for is something where you can continue to contribute over time. That way you get a real sense of purpose and you develop your own sense of community. So the volunteers that work with you, I'm sure, have a sense of belonging. And even like you in your introduction said, St. Mary's is your home. It's where you belong. You strayed away for a few years, but you came right back. And that is the ultimate, when you can find a place to volunteer that feels like home, and where you feel like you are joyful, you're contributing, there's purpose, and you feel energized and you can continue to go. Oftentimes people, as I said before, get burnt out, particularly if there's something they take on is just too massive or too sad. And then they burn out and then they stop. One of my friends was in hospice, and it just took too big of a toll. You know, you have to have the right skill set to be a hospice volunteer. So it's very important to take your time. There's so many volunteer opportunities out there. You can look at Volunteers of America, and just there's countless ways. And be brave and try something. And if it's right, you know, continue on for 20 years. If it's not right, change and go someplace else. And the world is starting to open up right now. So the time is very good. Some of us also haven't been as busy. And so it's nice to be able to build that back into our routine as we're able to get a little busier. And then, as Lou says, you will feel the benefits of that. You'll feel energized, you'll feel motivated, and it's easy to keep it as part of your routine.
Well, I encourage everyone, Priscilla, I'm sure if you want to chime in, that the lovely experience that one gets, and I'm speaking to the folks in Bayside, the regional area, because this podcast.
When you say Bayside, are you referring to
Bayside is Queens? Yeah.
Oh, not everyone knows that.
This is
I
going
have
to go
Bayside
out.
out my window, but it's a different Bayside.
This is going to go out to a lot of people in the Bayside area. We have 75,000 people that occupy the Bayside area, and of course,
because you also might get
two elements. Yeah, there's two elements of it. One is you can physically contact Priscilla, and you could do it either by phone call or by on the website. And the website, Priscilla, is St. Mary's Children's Hospital.com. What's the URL?
It's stmaryskids.org.
That's
so
simple.
ST.
Yeah, stmaryskids.org. I'm going to put that in the webpage when somebody wants to come to our webpage. That'll be a link that takes you right there. There also, I want you to know that there are campaigns for St. Mary's. Also, if you would like to volunteer with a cause that makes a difference to the betterment of children, I'm sure there's the ability to participate at the website if they want to contribute. If they see, that's certainly something that I highly recommend.
You're right on target. It's right there on our webpage, the information about volunteering, about donating other than your time. So that's certainly available there. I do want to go back and talk about the glow that came across on your face as you were talking about volunteering. And that ties right in with what the doctor was saying about how volunteering and it being the right connection for you can add years to your life. I've read that same research, and just makes that difference in your life and provides that satisfaction that we were talking about.
Yeah.
And that's also where I come in as the volunteer coordinator. The doctor mentioned that you have to make sure that it's the right place. And you mentioned the idea of burnout. I work very hard to make sure that I don't let people like Lou and our other volunteers burn out. We start off slow and we build up as they go along, and making sure it fits into the rest of the responsibilities that they have in their lives as well. And it's important not only for them, but our children start to rely. And I'll never forget one particular child that I used to work with here at St. Mary's, and a young man who was the volunteer that came to see him. He would come in every Tuesday and Thursday. And one week I happened to walk in with him onto the toddler unit, which is where he was volunteering. And this little guy that had taken such a love to him came running down the hall and said, "I know it's Thursday because you're here." And so even our children pick up on things like that and know that, okay, if it's Thursday, then Lou or whoever the volunteer might be is going to be coming to see me. And
Yeah,
so
it's a real joy. You expand your family, and that's really what it comes down to. Sometimes I'm there with the parents, and you know, and I just enjoy being there and know that you're touching someone. You know, you're making a difference to somebody, and they appreciate it. They so appreciate you being there, and the staff is wonderful. I mean, I just can't say enough about the staff. The staff is just great.
There are names for this phenomena, so it's easy to remember. It's called helpers high or givers gain. And I think it's nice, those easy to remember phrases.
Those are great.
And that will remind you that as you're curating your own life and making your life its most satisfying, this is something that you really want to give yourself the opportunity to do. So it's beautiful that people can come in and talk to you and find out what's entailed and get onboarded if it's an appropriate spot for them. And they're working to make their life better, if the givers gain and helpers high, and certainly the children. And I know I can speak for the families. You're tired, you're stressed, and anybody who helps you out in that phase of your life, you're deeply appreciative of. And you can remember things, you know, 20 years later, I can remember kindness that people offered me when my daughter was young and I was, you know, very overwhelmed and didn't know what to do. And it really can make the world of difference for someone just to be with them for a few hours and put a smile on their kid's face and let the parent, you know, catch their own breath. Maybe even listen to one of the meditations that Lou was talking about. So it helps the whole family, not just the child.
Yeah.
true.
All right. So once again, just for anyone who's interested, go to the website, stmaryskids.org, and all of the opportunities that are available there. If you happen to, if you're interested in knowing more my own personal experience, I'll be more than happy to chat with you, and then move it over to Priscilla, who is.
Priscilla, what ages are allowed to come as a volunteer to you?
Our volunteers are 16 and above. Our
Okay.
oldest volunteer right now is 97. So
Wow.
don't let age worry you one bit.
Wow, that's beautiful, amazing.
I hope to be
And
there.
how many volunteers do you have? I think you might have mentioned at the beginning, but it was a lot of content.
We have in the neighborhood of 150 volunteers, and there's always room for one more.
So you have a big community, so you're welcoming somebody into a community as well.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Beautiful.
Very good.
Well, thank
Well,
you all.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody. Priscilla, thank you so much. And
My pleasure.
I look forward to getting there. So let's get those doors open. I want to get there.
I'll be on the phone with you a little bit later to set that up.
See you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.